Story 1. I was lying in my bed while sick. I looked up and the walls started to crumble before me. I got out of bed to run to my brother's room to tell them, but I could not wake them up. Later, I realized this is because my actual body was lying in bed. I ran back to the room and saw the wall had vanished. I could see the evening sky with a bright light and what appeared to be a man at the end of the light. The man came closer and closer until he was standing right in front of me. He told me he wanted to show me something. He lifted me under his arm like you would do a child, and we lifted off the ground at an incredible pace. We raced through the universe where he told me every name of every planet. I could all at once understand this information even though it was coming at me so fast. We then went to a place which seemed like the Middle East. I have traveled my whole life and this is the closest place I can place the location. We then sat and listened to a young boy talk. Everyone was saying his name was Jesus. The speech was in a language I had never heard before, but somehow I understood. After listening to the speech, the man whisked me up again and we flew back to my bedroom. He told me he would give me this language to remember this event, as I would never believe it after I woke up. Following the event, I was so shaken. I could not get out of bed for 3 days as my legs could not walk. I tried to tell my family and friends about my experience, but nobody believed me. To this day, I can speak this language, which seems, after speaking with linguists, that it is a combination of Hebrew, Greek, and Arabic. Oftentimes, I hear this same language and I write down what I hear because I find the information fascinating. This story was shared by Franklin R. and happened in 1977.
Story 2. It was a very serene feeling that I clearly perceived all my organs ceased function gradually. It started from my feet, then one by one up to the lungs. No pain. I worried about whether I would experience difficulty breathing when it reached my chest, but it turned out to be pain-free. After all the organs were inoperative, I lay flat, rising and floating vertically. At that moment, my only thought was that I had to tell my family I was dead. A chubby woman in a medieval white robe and wearing a white sleeping hat with fungus-shaped brim greeted me with a smile. Slowly, I flew into a dark space, tilted upward in a steady way, and there was a gleaming light very far away. On the way, there was a set of three-dimensional shapes composed of light. Although it was light, I knew that it is some sort of material which is rather a law of the universe. Its appearance is similar to a treble clef, and there is a long lit arm reaching out from the right side and a three-dimensional spiral line underneath it, which became smaller progressively. Additionally, there were some other complicated structures in the middle that I could not remember. It was a very, very comfortable feeling. Later, I thought about my kids being too young so that I have to go back. Instantly, I woke up. I was 37 years old then. I am no longer afraid of death ever since. However, I cherish every day now. I tried my best to learn as much as I can and work hard effectively that I have no time to waste. I'm not bothered to maintain complex relationships and not willing to tell any lies. As time went by, I remember more of my experience that I had acute asthma, which caused me to stop breathing temporarily. I took some Chinese herbal medicine and recovered. My health becomes much better, emotions are stable, and personality is calmer afterward. This story was shared by Yin Ya and happened at an unknown time.
Story 3. I remember being bowled over. I don't remember getting up. But I do recall being on my feet with my lumbar region hurting. Suddenly, without any warning, I found myself somewhere else. I was no longer on the football field or even in this world. I was in another realm or dimension. I seemed to be in some kind of room, a shadowy room with thin shafts of light trickling down. The room was marked by total and complete stillness and silence. Nothing moved. There was no sound. I experienced myself as standing completely still. I looked straight ahead and to my left. I didn't look to my right. Why, I don't know. I just stood completely still. I've often wondered what I would have seen had I looked to my right. Would I have seen something or someone? Would what I saw have been frightening? To my left were 3 large piles of silver coins. I have no clue why I saw silver coins or what they meant. 3 thoughts popped into my head in sequence. 1. Where am I? 2. I'm not supposed to be here. And 3. Wait a minute. I was at football practice. Immediately, and I do mean immediately, With that last thought about having been at football practice, I opened my eyes. I was on the ground with Coach bending over me. My knees seemed to have been behind my ears, as if Coach was pumping my legs to revive me. The team was bending over me in a circle, looking down at me. When I was fully conscious, Coach said, "Hit the showers," and I headed for the locker room. I never said anything about what I experienced. I never mentioned it to my parents or friends. I didn't have the ability to process it. This story was shared by James B. and happened in 1962. Story 4. Both my sister and I took 3 Delta-8 THC gummies, then I headed to bed with my wife. My sister was fine with no ill effects. About 2 hours later, I woke up in worse pain than anything I could imagine. I managed to gain a tiny bit of control over my muscles to tell my wife to call 911 before I started fading. I could feel my heart seizing and my vision started looking like I was dropping away. I was screaming in my head to get out of it. The lights in the room were on and I didn't even notice as it all went dark. In the shades of a color I cannot describe, like a brown, purple, gray, black, I saw a rope and ballard line like the line to a club with rope gates leading to the front of a building. The bouncer quickly clasped the rope closed and some of my deceased family members were there telling me, "No, go back." In the void, a soothing voice told me, "No, not like this. Follow my breathing. Concentrate on breathing." I could feel my heart seize up again, shooting pain down my limbs, which I had lost control over, and they were just twitching. After the paramedics stabilized me, I was loaded in the ambulance. On the way to the hospital, my vision turned red and had lines like looking at a voice on a spectrograph from a spectrum analyzer. As that happened, I heard my heart monitor flat line and thought, "Oh, damn. No, you gotta be kidding me." Just then, the voice came back and coached me through breathing again. After that, I started to feel my limbs again. I feel like I've been given a second chance and that I'm confident God exists. God was coaching me on how to survive. If it wasn't God, then who was it? It wasn't a voice you hear, you felt it. This story was shared by Patrick P. and happened in 2022.
Story 5. I have atrial fibrillation. I had been experiencing a 3-hour stressful conversation with my internet provider while weeding the garden in summer. I came inside and felt like I couldn't breathe. I ripped my chains from around my neck. I could hear bits and pieces of conversations, but I couldn't talk or see. The next thing I remember was watching the blonde ambulance lady saying to the dark hair driver, "We've lost her," as he pulled the ambulance over to the side of the road. It was so peaceful and I felt intrigued at what they were doing. I was standing hovering up at the back of this woman who was trying to revive me. I was there with my mother who had passed over. She was not young or old, and she looked different than when I had known her. I knew it was her even though we didn't speak. It is hard to explain. It was like knowing, like being part of everything. It was something so beautiful that I still yearned to feel it again. Mom and I were standing and watching. Then Mom turned to go as I also turned. Then it was like I was hit. I often joke and say that my mom kicked my butt back into my body. I heard the ambulance lady say, "She's back." I was going in and out of consciousness. I think they put something down my throat, which later I found was life support. I came back at 8:30 p.m. I still couldn't see very well and felt dull. The nurse said to me, "We had lost you for a while." The first words that came out of my mouth was, "I was with my mom." I felt wonderful and wanted to go back. I wanted to feel that incredible feeling again. I wanted to know what we were doing and where we were going. I wanted to go, but knew I was here for a reason. The doctors have no idea why I died or what caused it. I think it was a combination of stress, dehydration, and atrial fibrillation. 2 months later, I knew why I was back. My story helped a young man who lost his best friend in an accident. From there, all these years, it's been the same. People are drawn to me and my story helps them. I feel blessed that I can help people. I believe in God but don't go to church. I believe that there is something amazing after death, like you become a higher being and a part of a universe we can't imagine. The experience has never left me, and I feel part of me is still there. I still taste that feeling. I want to understand what it was and I want to know more. I need answers that I know I can't get. It's been 4 years. I'm not well and waiting on results from cancer tests. Part of me wants to get better, yet a big part of me is thrilled to go back there. I try now to be the best person I can be to help those that need it. The NDE has changed who I am. This story was shared by Mimi D and happened in 2018.